This podcast is produced by the Center for Deployment Psychology at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. The views expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Uniformed Services University, the Department of Defense, or the U.S. government. In addition, references to any specific companies, products, processes, or services does not necessarily constitute or imply endorsement by the Uniformed Services University, the Department of Defense, or the U.S. government. Welcome to CDP's podcast, Practical for Your Practice,
where we give you actionable intel to support what you do, one colleague to another.
Hello and welcome back, or welcome to Practical for Your Practice podcast. I am Jenna Ermold, and I am joined by fabulous co-host, Dr. Carin Lefkowitz. How's it going today, Carin?
Hello, Jenna. I'm always happy to be here with you on the podcast, but I must admit it is a dreary day. It is a stressful day, and so I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, Carin, I could not have lined this up better for you.
I know.
Because I know this podcast is often about you, but
right.
Today it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a fantastic guest today who we've actually had previously.
A returning guest.
A returning guest, but he's so good and so masterful in talking about stress. And given that many of us are experiencing unprecedented levels of stress these days, we thought it was time to bring back the one, the only, the fabulous Dr. Gabe Paoletti. Hi, Gabe. How are you doing? Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be back. And excited to talk about stress again.
It's never not a good topic to talk about. For those who may not remember, can you just give us a brief summary of who you are and kind of what you're doing these days?
Sure. So I'm the Director of Human Performance Optimization, or HPO Integration, and HPRC, which stands for Human Performance Resources by CHAMP. Basically, we have a public-facing website. And our work focuses on two main concepts. One is human performance optimization, where all of our work is really focused on not just how do we help individuals, units, teams, families, communities get from -5, -10 to 0, but how do we enable them to be able to perform at their best at whatever their mission essential tasks are, whether that's, in their work or it's at home, but whatever those tasks are, how do we help them to perform at their absolute best? And to do that, we have a total force fitness framework. So when we look at things like stress, we don't just look at it through like the mental domain. We try to look at it through a holistic lens. So our team has subject matter experts across the range of sleep, nutrition, social fitness, physical fitness, spiritual fitness. And when we're looking at something, we provide all those domains to make sure that we're seeing it holistically as we develop training and develop resources for service providers, service members, and military family members. I'm with the Armor Champ Center at a Uniformed Services University. I'll let the acronym be in the show notes rather than going through them all.
That might take up half the show notes, though, Kate. Yeah, I don't know. That's a long one.
It is a long one. But super excited to be with CDP again and to hopefully provide some additional resources for all those that you share. I'm an avid listener of your podcast, so it's great to be back.
Oh, I think he gets the #1 fan award.
Long-time listener, #1 fan. Yes.
Love it. Returning
I will say I often listen to it as I'm going to bed. So.
Great.
Wow.
He gives and he takes away.
And he does. I think it must be the melodic tone of our voices.
Yes.
As you relax into a state of non-stress.
Well, Gabe, I was about to pay you a compliment. I'm now rethinking it, but in all seriousness, I was excited to hear about your background and in terms of how you approach stress from a really holistic perspective and human performance from a holistic perspective. Some of us, myself included, can get really narrow-minded about that. So I just love the way you describe that. And I'm wondering if perhaps we can start with you talking a little bit about, I guess, first of all, how you define stress, because I feel like it's one of those words that gets thrown around a lot in non-clinical settings, and then maybe even a little bit more about including that holistic piece that you mentioned.
We actually have a lot of internal discussions as to how we want to frame stress when we're talking with others, usually during trainings. And the definition that we like to go by the most is adopted from Kelly McGonigal. But basically, when we refer to stress, we refer to it as stress is the response of your body and brain when you believe something you care about is at stake. And the reason why we're so careful about that is one, we don't want to create the notion that stress is bad or stress is good. It just is. It's how our body's reacting. And two, trying to connect it to meaning. And that's like where that holistic lens is really important because really when we think about stress, it's connected to things that we find meaningful in our lives. And the easiest way to get rid of stress is just not to care. If you no longer care, then you're not going to be stressed about it.
Do you have a tip on that? How to stop caring about things?
I was going to say, in apathy infusions.
But actually, this is a great point because I think often, and especially when we look at the research in terms of like the general population's approach to stress, about 10 years ago, a moderate level of stress was seen by the general population as healthy. Today, that's interpreted as there's something wrong. And the issue with that is that often like so I guess I'll take a step back and say all of the things that are meaningful in our lives are going to bring about stress within our lives. No one has a kid that's not stressful, right? No one has a job which is not stressful. No one's in a meaningful relationship which is not stressful. The problem is that if we're interpreting that stress, which is healthy, normal stress, it's our body and brain saying, this matters to you, so we want you to perform. If we try to drown that out, if our goal is to eliminate that, then we don't care about our relationship or we don't care. Like we try to get ourselves not to care so much about our parenting or our job, or we try to drown it out with, perhaps drinking or hopping on social media or like things to just kind of drown it out rather than understanding that our body and brain are trying to help us to perform. And if we're able to manage that in a healthy way, then that's basically stress is like a superpower in helping us to be a better parent, to do better at our job, to be better in that relationship and, thinking through the extra things that we could do to make that person feel better. And say we're in a toxic relationship or say we're in a situation that needs to be changed, that's overly stressful in our lives. Well, we need stress to take the behaviors to change those things. But if we just try not to care about them or again drown them out, then we wind up stuck in those same situations that are causing that unhealthy or toxic levels of stress. So with that, basically stress can help us, but if our goal is to eliminate it or just to get rid of it, rather than looking at how can we use this to be able to perform better within our life, then it can come with those negative consequences.
That is such a, sorry, Carin and I were both so taken by that. We wanted to comment on it. And I think what I really appreciate about that explanation is a lot of times you'll hear like, stress isn't bad. So people will sort of say the first part, but not the second part, which is the meaning attached. And I think when you view it that way, it's so empowering. It just really puts a different feel to what stress is and actually sort of the adaptive nature of it in, living a life worth living and making your life meaningful. Carin, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't know if there was something you wanted to add.
It's exactly what I was reacting to as well. I love thinking about it as stress is a message, essentially. It's giving you a message that something's important to you, that something is meaningful to you. And I also loved the subjective nature of your description when you said something that's important to you. The things that are most important to me are maybe not the same exact things that are important to you, Gabe, or to you, Jenna. There's a slight difference. And so that helps me to understand why, sometimes I'll get stressed over things that somebody else might not feel a whole lot of stress about, or vice versa.
Right, absolutely. So the cool thing we're really excited to talk to you about is some of the work that you all have been doing, where not only do you sort of conceptualize stress as this important message about things that are meaningful and things that, that it's not all bad, but that oftentimes people feel like they're dealing with stress on their own, that it's like their thing, their issue, their problem. People even use the like just stop stressing, you just need to stop being stressed. Not helpful, by the way, when you tell somebody that. If you just weren't so stressed, then this XYZ, yeah, that doesn't help. And when we talked, you had mentioned that one of the things you all are really trying to talk about more is stress as a team sport.
Mm.
Uh, what does that mean? And like, how is that something that we can, leverage in the work that we do with our clients?
Yeah, so two things. I guess the first thing before I dive into that piece is that like stress stinks. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. It's not something that we enjoy. And over time, it can cause us to get too hot, like where we're overly stressed, which can cause a lot of health problems. It can cause a lot of bad decision making. And being aware of what it is that leads us, or what are those signs or cues when we are overly stressed is really important so that we have those strategies to be able to calm ourselves down to get to what's commonly called as your eyes off or your individual zone of optimal functioning, which is kind of like your sweet spot. It's Goldilocks. Like this is when I am performing at our best. In the same way, it's good for us to know when we're under stressed in a sense, or basically we're just kind of going through the motions. We're not performing or not caring enough for us to be able to perform at our best. And one of the things that, especially those either in leadership positions or those whose role it is to care for others, is that we're often so focused on others and how we can use our stress and time and attention and being able to help others that we're often not aware of when we are running too hot or we are running too low. And part of where the stress team concept comes from is what's known as the taillight effect. So the taillight effect is basically when your tail lights out, who's usually the last one to know?
You.
You.
Me.
And
Yeah.
you need to rely on other people to let you know when your tail lights out. And hopefully someone lets you know until, otherwise the police are coming and they're giving you a ticket, and that's when it's too late. In the same way, when we have so much going on in our lives and we're so focused on others, sometimes we're self-aware enough to know, wait a minute, I didn't get the sleep. I haven't been exercising. I haven't been doing the things that I need to make my stress tank full. And that's a whole other resource that we can provide in there of like individually, what can you do to make sure you're setting yourself up for success? But basically, this concept is setting up the people around us so that they can be on the lookout of when we're running too hot, when we're running too low, and they can let us know when to intervene.
Mm,
And often when people think of like stress as a team, they think of like just support. Often that's
Mm.
being called out. Like, who are the
mm.
people that you want to be on the lookout to have those difficult conversations with you? And that's not easy. And it's not easy when you see someone else and they're running hot or aren't engaged and you're seeing the cues. It's not an easy conversation to tell someone. And there's a right way to do it, and there's a lot of ways then that can go wrong. So basically, this is kind of a process that sets you up and sets the people in your life up. What is it that they're looking for? What is it that you want them to do? And then how do you want them to do it? And what ways do you want them to do it? So it's not a lot of mind reading and guessing. It's really being able to have other people kind of looking out for you in that way. And
It's
just
really strategic. It sounds like very strategic and
Mm.
planned.
exactly. Yeah, it's really like setting it up for success on the front end rather than when it's too late in a
First off,
way.
I love that taillight analogy, and I'm gonna steal that. That is
Yeah,
such a
I stole it from someone, I don't know who, but
great. We're all
yeah.
borrowing and stealing. I love it. I think that's such a nice way to describe it. And I guess you started to answer the question that I had, which is thinking about who your team is going to be and how you set that up is that sort of an explicit process? Is it implicit? 'Cause I'm thinking about who would be on my team. Well, Jenna's on my team, whether she likes it or not, and she has no difficulty calling me out on things. You'll
No,
be happy
no,
to know.
really actually enjoy it.
So
It's quite
that's not an
pleasurable.
issue. But I'm thinking about how are those teams set up and how do you do that?
Yeah. So I think the first part is becoming self-aware of what are your blind spots. And they can be the major blind spots, like I am really disengaging or I'm drinking too much, or, like
Mm,
those major ones that are major issues. Or it could be as low level as just day-to-day interactions that you want someone looking out for you.
hmm.
I don't know if you guys can tell this about me, but I'm Italian and I tend to get very excited. Um,
For those of you who
I'm
can't
also talking
see,
with my hands right
Gabe
now,
Right.
which
Gabe has
they
not
can't see.
stopped using his hands to
Yes,
talk. So I'll just throw that out there. Imagine like gesturing on a constant basis with emphasis.
my hands are up in the air right now, and I don't know why. Um, but sometimes I'll be excited about something, and it will come off aggressive, even though I don't mean for it to come off aggressive.
Hmm.
I mean, almost my entire team right now is on the lookout for that right now. And we have a cue word, Mamma Mia, which lets
Oh,
me know. We also have a hand signal, which you can't see right now, um, but it's their way to let me know, Gabe, you're coming off a little bit more aggressive right now than you likely mean to be. And that gives me a cue to take a breath and calm down. Now,
Oh,
say I didn't set them up to do that.
right.
yeah.
I didn't let them know that like sometimes this is what I'm falling into. They're like he yells all the time, or he's coming
Yeah.
aggressive all the time, or like say they want to say something to me. Think of all the mental energy that should go into that conversation, because how do I not offend them? Well,
Mm,
what's the specific topic? Where if I'm able to set them up for success on the front end of what are the things to look out for, this is the way that I want you to like. I don't want you to say, Gabe, calm down as I'm presenting or talking or in the middle of the meeting. Send me a G chat or a message or give me the,
The hand
the hand
signal.
signal. And that lets me know so that they're not offending me. And the way I'm interpreting that is they're looking out for me rather than criticizing me in a way.
if it's okay, I'm going to add on because that is brilliant, because also it's quick and effective and efficient too, right? And I think that the stress word has such a negative balance. If they had said like, "Hey, you seem stressed," that is
Hmm.
just going to bump you up another layer. I have worked with this fantastic PM for years, and he is a former Marine, and he's very Marine. I mean, he wants to get stuff done. He's efficient, and like it's all the things I love about him. And occasionally when we would be doing some like webinars together or things, and he was in the background, participants were maybe not being very easy. And so again, like where he was intending to efficiently fix a problem, he might have come off as maybe a little edgier than one should with participants. And we had a word, and it was Peachy. So when I would message him Peachy, he knew to kind of be like, okay, take a breath, like same thing. So like that, and it worked beautifully because he didn't get mad at me for calling him out. I was able to kind of say, hey, let's, whatever. And he then was even better at the task he was trying to do because it was with that sort of feel to it. So I love it.
You know what I love about both of those examples is they're both lighthearted and funny. Like
Hmm.
Peachy and Mamma Mia, they're quick, they're efficient, etc., but they're also not negative. They're funny. They're probably going to infuse a little bit of humor or a little bit of
Hmm.
lightheartedness into the equation at a time that it's most needed.
And with two things that I want to add to that. And part of that is if you think about the goal, like what is it that I need, or both of us, it sounds like need it
Right.
in those situations, is that quick boost of positive emotion that then
Mhm.
lowers our stress levels, that helps us to get like our intent is to explain something well, not to yell,
Mhm.
and not to become aggressive. So by really spending that time on the front end of thinking what's going to help us to do that, like versus say we said you're yelling, like say that was the cue, well that probably
Mhm.
wouldn't help us to like lower our energy levels so that we're able to um, basically hit the mark of whatever that performance is that we're trying to do. And the beauty of it, in my opinion, is that it also provides us, as we're going through these situations, that we don't feel like we're going alone. I
Mm.
like I don't need to be overly self-conscious when I know my team's around that I'm going to be yelling because I know they're looking out for me. And really, like at a deeper level, when it comes to stress, human beings can get through extremely difficult, extremely hard things when we know that we have a team around us that has our back. Even just having one person that we know is with us as we're going through whatever it is makes a huge difference in our stress response, having that boost of oxytocin, of feeling like other people are in it with us, again, completely helps us to be able to, manage that stress versus when we feel like we're alone, when we feel like we have to go through it all alone. It's a completely different stress response, and then we're way more resilient when we have that group around us.
So it sounds like one part is being strategic with the who, like who's
Mhm.
on your team. Another part of the strategy is the what. What do I look like when I'm, running hot? What do I look like when I'm running cool? And then here are the things. So you have to have the self-awareness to then say, here are the things that are going to help me in those moments. Is there a way, like, how do you get people to do that when you're trying to, talk to units or talk to folks? What are some of the things that are the practical things you talk about there?
So, one, we have a number of tools that help people to like really kind of like thinking through what are their important tasks and what is it when they're at their best to accomplish those tasks. And then what is it that they need to be able, like in terms of need, I mean, like do they need sleep? Do they make sure that they need to do like a morning prayer or meditation? What do they need to eat? Um, we were talking before the show how we're all from Philadelphia. If I have a cheesesteak before anything, I'm going to be on that low end where I'm not engaged. And so I can't eat cheesesteaks, but
Mhm.
just being aware of that and then helping them to think through, all right, what are the times where you fell short, you're not engaged, and what are the times where you're running hot? And I think that's the first baseline part of it. The other thing, though, that is really helpful is having group discussions and people sharing, because again, with that taillight effect, when someone else shares, that in meetings they sometimes yell when they don't mean to yell. Wait a minute, I've actually been told that, once or twice in not a productive way. Maybe that's something else that I want others to be on the lookout for. So the more that you can bring people together and kind of um, sharing with each other, the different things to look out on both ends of the coin, that helps people to become more aware as well.
Very cool. And now I want a cheesesteak.
I want to choose my stress word, but we can come back to that later during the actionable intel portion of this conversation, I think. Okay, so I'm getting a picture, I'm starting to get the picture, I think, of what stress as a team sport looks like, right? So you gotta, like Jenna said, decide who's on your team, what we're looking for, what kind of that word is gonna be, or that cue is gonna be that you might be stressed, you might be behaving in a way that you don't want to behave. But then what comes next? Like how do you further intervene with each other in that kind of scenario? How do you decide what to do next?
Yeah, the next part is one that I think often with the best intentions, we get wrong. And
Hmm.
that is like, let's say that I notice that someone's disengaged. They're kind of quiet, they seem sad, right? And they set me up with that cue, please intervene when
Right.
I'm sad. Well, often what we do is what we would want. Like, what is it that
Right.
Mm,
Gabe would like in that situation? The thing is that we're all not the same. And what Gabe might need when I'm sad, I like to be alone. I like to isolate. I like to figure it out on my own.
Hmm.
Or somebody else might like, I just need you near me. I just need you with me. I need you pushing me to like interact or, keep calling me. Like what we each need
Yeah.
in that situation might be different. So the rule's great. We're not saying anything wrong with the golden rule, but in terms of a stressed team, the next part is really letting the other person know what is it that you need and in what way do you need it so that they're not left up to guessing. So basically, it's setting the other person up for success because they know exactly what it is that they should do and how they should do it so that they're not left up to guessing. Because again, this is really hard on both ends. And
Mhm.
often, when this is a quote from a friend, but I'm sure he got it from somewhere, but often when other people are at their most unlovable is when they need love the most. And the
Hmm.
same way, often when we are at our most unlovable is when we need love at the most. And when other people know how to give us that support or to give us that love, now it's not a guessing game. They're able to hit the mark, hit the target directly.
That's exactly what I was wondering. I was trying to envision how does that work? So, like going back to your in a meeting, Gabe's getting so aggressive example, right? And somebody's
Excited.
excited, I mean, excited, not aggressive. And somebody says, Mamma Mia, right?
Yeah.
And so then you get that cue of, uh-oh, I'm looking very excited about things, right? Then what comes next? So it sounds like that people on your team already know ahead of time, okay, after you say Mamma Mia and after I've received the message, what I'm gonna most benefit from next is being left alone for a little bit or having some time in my office or whatever.
In that situation, it's just letting me know that I'm coming
Okay.
off aggressive, even though I don't need to. So that
Okay.
Mamma Mia, I take a breath and then
Okay.
slow down. Usually I'm going too fast. But
Uh-huh.
let's say I'm really depressed. I'm really going through a tough time. I just lost someone that I care about. In that type of situation, I would just like a day to think things through. Others might want lots of different engagements. Like, all right, let's
Mhm.
bring them food. Let's, constantly text them. Where like to me, that would just be additional levels of
Mhm.
stress that isn't going to be helpful for me, even though it's just other people trying to care and trying to help.
Yeah.
So when we're able to let them know exactly what it is that we need from them at these different points, but in the future, because again, when we're really, really stressed or really, really low, when
Yeah.
we're going through stuff, it's not always the best time to like say,
Right.
hey, like, let me just have a day. It's better to
Right.
let them know when we're not in those situations. So it's really kind of setting them up for success on the front end.
Yeah, that makes sense. So letting them know, having that conversation, I'd say ahead of time, because it could be a mutual conversation, having that at a time that's calm. So when the stress does appear, those mechanisms are already in place. Everybody has that knowledge already. That makes a lot of sense.
It applies to so many situations. I think about, even having like serious health complications. People want to jump in and they want to do a food train or they want to do this or that. And I've really tried to talk through with friends, take a minute and think about what is going to be most helpful for you because that's what we want to set up versus like
Hmm.
superimpose this stuff that maybe isn't how they want it or where, like, so, it's just so applicable across the board.
Can I have one example to that could be helpful?
Yes, yes. Examples are great.
Okay. I just recently had a friend who himself and his wife are going through like a really difficult medical time. And of
Hmm.
course, everyone wants to like how things going, how like he basically told me, just make me laugh. Like send
Hmm.
you can
Yep.
text me, but don't text me about this.
Don't ask how I'm
Hmm.
doing,
Yeah,
right?
like,
Yep.
just things that are funny, things that are interesting to get me distracted. I'm thinking about this all day. I know you care, but this is what I need. And I want to ask, like everything
Hmm.
within me is ask, like wants to ask how things are going, but I know what he needs is for me just to keep it light.
Exactly. Exactly. And, I think also when you have a situation like that and you're not thinking about it for a minute and then somebody texts, "How are you feeling?" Now
Right.
you were getting a break from it and now you're thinking about it again. Anyway, great example.
Love it.
But in the sake of time, I want to make sure we get to talk about, as we discussed, our theme this season are the seven sins of EBP work. So, as we ask all of our guests, what do you think would be sort of the sin, if you will, when it comes to stress management, that, like providers might make that you've seen people make that maybe you've made, when you're trying to work with stress in evidence-based psychotherapy work?
I'm gonna go with three because I like threes.
Three. He's got three
Three.
sins. Okay, extra credit.
So the first one is like your all work is so meaningful. Like you are that stressed teammate for other people within your work. And because it's meaningful, it's going to be stressful. So the first thing is just thinking through what are the ways that I need to be taking care of myself so that I'm able to help others. I love the airplane metaphor. When
Mm-hmm.
the oxygen goes out, what do you need
Yeah.
to do to put on your oxygen mask first so that you can be fully present when you're working with patients? So that's one. Two is then identifying what are the signs that you might need to be on the lookout for. Like maybe you're about to walk into seeing a patient. What do you want your team to be looking for? Or like maybe it's words, maybe it's certain actions, certain behaviors, but what are the different things that you want them to be on the lookout for? And then develop that plan. How do you want them to intervene? And again, I think it's great to have work related examples, but also home and friends related examples, and really thinking through who are the people that I want to give whatever that message is. If I'm out in a social situation, who is it that I want to let me know, Gabe, you might have had one drink too many, you might need a water. How am I going to receive that the best? But then, third, the main sin is that we do all this heavy work and then we don't reach out to the people.
Hmm.
Don't send that text. So I would recommend if this is relating to anybody listening right now, pause it and text whoever it is that you want to be on your stress team and just say, hey, I'm listening. You can't tell. This is a bald guy right now on this podcast, and he's making me text someone. Can you be on you be on my stress team because it would really, be helpful for me. And then a hack within that last part is also think through who do you want to be on that person's stress team? Who do you want to come to you to set you up for that? Add them to your stress team, whether you want them or not, because when you ask them and you show that vulnerability to them to be on your stress team, then that makes them feel more open to choosing you to let you know when it is that they might need help and how it is to intervene. For full transparency, my daughter, who's 8, she's on my stress team.
Hmm.
She'll give me the mama mia like that because I wanted her to be able to come to me and let me know when she wants me on the lookout for things as well.
I love that. And I'm going to need a video of your 8-year-old daughter doing the Mamma Mia.
I
I'm going to
know.
need that for my stress relief. I'm going to need that.
And sometimes I say, you still need to put on your shoes. We got to
Yeah.
get.
I love this conversation so much. I feel like well, my stress is reduced. You're now all officially part of my stress team. And by the way, my word is halloumi. So when
Mm.
that's going to be my word, halloumi. It's such a good word. So I love this conversation.
What does it even mean?
Yeah.
Halloumi cheese. You don't know what halloumi
Oh,
cheese? It's just a great
no.
word. It's just a great
Okay.
word.
Is that whiz?
No, it's a delicious Greek cheese. Oh my God.
I'm
Guys,
joking. It was a Philly cheesesteak
Corinne,
joke.
you
this
know,
Yeah.
brain is not going to remember halloumi. We need a lower level. All right, halloumi, I've
listen,
got it. I've got it. You
the
know, I'm going to be,
intervention.
You
what'll be
can't get
fun
it
for
on a
you is
cheesesteak.
what will be great for you is when we're in a meeting and I text something like hallucination because I can't remember the word.
All right, let's move into actionable intel. Here's where we like to take the next steps. And clearly, the first one is going to be you all need to look up and have halloumi because it's delicious. So that's going to be the first piece of actionable intel. However, we should add some actionable intel for listeners who already know what halloumi is and perhaps want to figure out how to put the stress team into practice. Gabe, what are some resources, ideas, tips that you have for our listeners so that they can get started in this process?
Incoming actionable intel.
Sure. We have a ton of resources, articles, and worksheets on hprc-online.org, and we can put those links in the show notes.
Mhm.
Basically, it walks you through first identifying what we call is your stress toolkit. So, what are the different tasks? What are the different things within your life that are meaningful to you? And if they're meaningful, they're going to involve stress. And then how do you make sure that you're hitting the mark to be able to accomplish that? And then thinking through what are your blind spots to develop that stress team toolkit as well. So all of those we can provide into the show notes. The other thing that I want to say is if you are interested in more of this or you're a part of a team that might be interested in more of this, Champ loves doing trainings. developing curriculum or that kind of stuff. So please also, we'll put our contact information in there. Please reach out and we'd be happy to run a session to help you or your team build up your stress team and keep doing the wonderful work that you all are doing.
That sounds amazing. And I will do an illegal, I guess maybe not illegal, but we have our annual evidence-based psychotherapy conference, and we are lucky enough that Gabe has agreed to do a presentation during that. So given that this will come out well in advance of that conference in May, keep those dates on your calendar, which we will also put in.
5th through 7th of
Thank you.
2026. And I'll add that there will be video, of course, during that conference, so
Yes.
you can see Gabe's hand motions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come
Very
see the bald and gesturing cheesesteak eating.
We'll see
Mamma
you listen
mia.
to the podcast by how many Mamma Mias I get.
That's right. Extra credit for anybody.
Yeah.
Well, Mamma Mia, Peachy Keen, this has been a fantastic conversation. And again, we are really grateful to have another chance to sit down and chat with you. And I really am so appreciative of the work that Champ is doing, that you are heading up. And thanks for sitting and sharing with us. Stress is a team sport. FYI, I already texted Carin in the background, will you be on my stress team? So I did the assignment, Gabe. I get extra credit for that too.
Good work. Well, thank you all for having us, and always happy to work with CDP in any way we can.
So until next time, stay curious.
And eat your halloumi. I mean, mind your EVPs.
Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Remember, we love hearing from our listeners, so leave us a message on SpeakPipe or send us an email. Both can be found in our show notes. Our theme music is Failed Attempts by Nitro, and our administrative assistant is Bree Mercer.
Thanks for listening to Practical for Your Practice.
If you like what you're hearing, please feel free to follow us, rate this episode, and share it with others.
Until next time,